Welcome in, Wednesday edition, Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal, McCready, Clark Ford Studio here with you this morning. Ole Miss falls in the Governor's Cup down in Pearl 2-1 last night. Rebels pitched it very, very well. Actually, one of the better pitch games of the year. Offense did absolutely nothing, and Mississippi State scored an unearned run in the sixth inning for the decider there.
It's
in
almost
that one.
It's almost like they did what teams that aren't having good seasons do. They can't put it together.
And frankly, at this point, they press and do different things. You know, the fan that goes, hey, they don't care. No, that's not true. If anything, you get very frustrated and care too much, and then you get bogged down and you can't quite. I mean, it's a bit of a prophecy there. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Colorado basically replacing its entire roster in 1 year. Does that relate to Ole Miss in any ways? How do you localize that story? Got some other stuff going on as well here today. Neal's got something on his mind. I'll let him talk in a second. So all that and much more on the podcast. Podcast brought to you every single day by the Oxford Exxon, Highway 6 West in Oxford. Remember your donuts down in Clinton. If you're in the Jackson metro area, head to the Blue Sky in Clinton. A lot of options. Homemade every single morning. Pick up some donuts. If you're in Oxford, let them take care of lunch. $5.69 for a couple sides, bread, any size fountain drink, and more. The lunch menu changes every day. Or maybe dinner tonight, ribs, wet or dry, call ahead, wrap them up, ready to go for you with the Oxford Exxon and the Blue Sky location. Again, coming to you from the Clark Ford Studio.
We are Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is the number. Call it. Ask for our buddy Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product, I almost said food product. My brain, man, scattered today. I'm sorry. Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's right to the bottom line. There's no hassle. There's no haggle. You get your quote. The rest completely up to you. You can shop it around or do what I've done, what I recommend that you do. And that's hop into a Clark Ford today. Great service, great product. Corey and the people at Clark Ford want to be your car guy. They want to be your truck guy. They'll prove to you what it means. 662-257-1900. Guest will join on the myperfectfranchise.net hotline. If you're a displaced corporate executive, maybe you're wanting to put your career in your own hands. Maybe you're an experienced entrepreneur just wanting to diversify. Either way, Andy Ludicky can help. He owns multiple franchises and businesses and uses his expertise to help others find their American dream through a very thorough and free consultation process. So call Andy, put your life and your career in your own hands. It's 100% free. So what do you have to lose? Find your perfect franchise at myperfectfranchise.net. Contact Andy anytime at andy@myperfectfranchise.net or call 404-973-9901.
Got to ask on the thing, is donuts one of the more overrated foods?
Yes.
I like donuts. Now, when you're done with them, you never are kind of glad you had it because it's unhealthy and it doesn't fill you up. So it's a very much just in the moment thing.
It's basically just sugar.
Yeah, of course. But
depends on what you mean.
Are donuts really highly rated though? Like, or we got, oh my God.
I mean, there are people that swear by donuts. You have stores.
I like donuts. Don't get me wrong. I love a donut.
I mean, listen. Apparently, I have made an impact in Clinton with the
soccer team.
Yeah, Coach Wade posted on Twitter that he's had to talk to his team about nutrition and maybe where they get their nutrition advice. And I disagree with him completely. I think you should continue to listen to the Oxford Exxon podcast, fellas. Dozen donuts and a 2-liter bottle of Coke every day.
I mean, they are more of a dessert than a breakfast food. That's part of the marketing genius of them. It's not like Pop-Tarts. Is going, hey, grab them on the way out for your breakfast that morning.
Mm-hmm.
If you eat a donut at night or as a dessert, like, you know it's a dessert and you are like, you've tricked yourself into going, oh, wow, what you eat for breakfast? Well, I had a bowl of cereal and a donut. Well, hold on a minute. I got questions.
Yeah, well, you got more than questions.
So that's the thing. It's the outside of where they're so much better with portion control, like in France, our abundance of pastries and sweets as breakfast is where the marketing industry has succeeded that makes it overrated.
That's a good point.
Is that fair?
Yeah, because there's the craft donut, like, that is really, really good,
yeah, sure.
right? And I mean, listen, the Blue Sky donut is kick ass. Don't get me wrong.
Go get it. Yeah. And when in the morning, it's homemade. It's fresh.
Fresh. Just I don't know. It's overrated. It's not overrated. It's just maybe rated in the wrong category.
Because, like, I'm about to break the entire stream, including you potentially throwing your coffee at me. Like, to me, the most overrated product is peanut butter.
Whew. God, that hurts.
When you go, hey, what do you like about peanut butter? Oh, I love a peanut butter and jelly. When you have to add something to it.
Well, so for me, the problem with peanut butter is that it has,
we like a Reese's because it has chocolate with it.
Well, I've tried to, back in my fat days, tell me it's a great source of protein, when in reality it's not a great source of protein. And it's not allowed to be in our house anymore.
Because you eat it.
Well, it's a weakness.
Yeah.
And so just don't bring it in the house. And so my wife has been, I'm not one to give my wife a lot of orders. I don't think that's the best way to build a marriage. But that is one of my very few edicts that I've passed down. Carson's allergic to peanuts anyways. He can't eat them.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
And so I just said, no, peanut butter's allowed. And I don't think it's a huge deal. But it hasn't been in our house in more than a year.
Okay.
So that's good. But look, as much as I love peanut butter, I can't argue with you that it has no redeeming value.
Well, no, just yes, a French breakfast is a pastry and coffee, but they are much better with portion control than we are. They eat very decadent food in small quantities.
Yes.
And frankly, they move more than we do.
I was getting ready to say that.
Yeah.
We have a sedentary society.
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean,
I understand where you're coming from, Trent. My problem with peanut butter is that it's
because you love it like melted over a sundae and stuff like that.
I love it like over damn near everything. Okay. Like Will Levis puts a spoon of mayonnaise in his coffee. I have often thought about what would happen if I put a spoonful.
I like peanut butter. People misconstrue some of these things when they go, "Oh God, you hate it." No. I said it was overrated. There's a difference. I don't mind peanut butter.
No, I mean,
I like crunchy peanut butter rather than creamy. But okay, it's fine.
I do too.
That's neither here nor there.
But I love creamy too. That's part of my problem is that I love the natural peanut butter to the point. But then you look at the caloric intake on that. Like, what are we doing? This is stupid.
Sorry. Anyway. Would you like some peanut butter?
No, not really.
You're not in the mood?
You know, it's funny. I've gotten away from it for so long that I don't crave it.
Why don't you eat PB2? Just make some PB2.
Is that the powder? Yeah. We've got some of that somewhere maybe.
Mix it, stir it. It actually is not bad. It's good enough to kill your craving.
Oh.
And it's literally no calories.
It's just protein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I put it in smoothies. But yes, you can make a peanut butter out of it.
Okay.
Just mix it, stir it up. It's fine.
Yeah, I've done it before. So I had a day yesterday.
Okay.
This kind of started on Sunday. It's good for Ole Miss people. You're going to get triggered at the beginning of this, so I apologize. Although at this point you're probably not triggered. You've probably accepted it. Carson and I were sitting right here. Carson was sitting in the chair you're sitting in right now, and I was sitting right here. He wasn't talking into a mic. We were studying for history. He had a big AP U.S. history exam on Monday. And we'd been studying for days. And we were kind of just going over his essay answers. And he was taking a break. And so we turned on Warriors Kings on that TV. And we had Ole Miss LSU on this TV. And Ole Miss had taken the lead. And I had just said to him, man, I'm kind of glad Ole Miss is going to win this game. And he goes, why? And he was curious. And I said, because I'm really concerned about what we're going to talk about for months. I said, people go football, football, football. I said, but they don't play till September. And they don't practice till August. And that's a long time. And Ole Miss gets the first out in the ninth. And they get the second out in the ninth. And we're actually starting to turn the page back to history, like talking about the nuances of his essay question. There's a little thing that you can add in there that gives you extra points, et cetera.
Okay.
And then I see the walk. And I said, hold up 1 second. Next dude gets hit. And I went, you know what's coming here. He goes, nah, they're going to be all right. Boom. Missile. And I went, damn. And it kind of hit me like, oh, shit. This is going to happen, right? I mean, because what are they, 3-15?
They are.
The math is just so problematic.
10-2.
Yeah, the math is problematic, and I've watched Georgia play a good bit because they have this freshman right fielder who's a stud. I mean, he's a badass. I mean, that dude if in 2 years we're talking about him in really lofty terms, I'm not remotely surprised. Like, he does everything. And I was like, they could. I mean, I don't think Ole Miss is sweeping Georgia. I don't think Ole Miss is getting swept by Georgia. But if you told me Georgia won 2 games, am I surprised? No, not even a little bit. And so at that point, it just kind of stuck with me for the rest of the week that as we sit here on Wednesday, it was last night before I had some sort of a revelatory moment. Anyway, I've been battling a cold. So yesterday I finally went to my doctor, who looked at me, basically laughed and said, it's been 6 months. This is what happens. And really didn't even need a consultation. I just got my shot, my antibiotics, the equivalent of a Z-Pack, and off I went, right? And so the steroids pumping through my veins yesterday, feeling better, but steroids make you feel like you're jumping out of your body.
Yep.
And so if you're here at this point, we're going to get to sports. I promise. I'm getting to something. This is going to take me a minute, and I'm kind of.
He's a little doped up.
I'm a little.
Let him work through the process.
I'm a little punch drunk here. My oldest, who turns 22 in a few days, graduates college in 2 weeks, which is good, except for the fact that she has had that. This is not about. I'm not going to talk about Arkansas athletics, so if you're worried about that, just relax. The athletics are not coming up. She doesn't know anything about athletics. She couldn't tell you what's happening with their baseball team right now. If you begged her and if you said, hey, who are they getting out of the transfer portal? She would say, the what? So it's all good. She's had an incredible college experience. She's made tons of friends, tons of really good friends, and then more than a handful of the kind of friends that are probably going to be lifelong friends. It's what you hope for. It's what you hope for your kids. No doubt, girls who will be in her wedding. No doubt, she will be in a lot of their weddings. I mean, legitimate, deep, meaningful friendships. And it's coming to an end to a degree where they are right now. And I think where she is today is what has become home for her. 2 or 3 years ago, that would bother me. Now I'm happy for her that she found a place that for her is home. And she's getting antsy about next. She's accepted a job in Nashville. She starts in early August. She's got 2 roommates locked down. One's a girl from Georgia who went to the University of Georgia, and one's a girl from Arkansas, and another potential roommate. But anyway, found out that they might have to sign a lease a good month before they start work. And so she's stressed out about money and about and just stress, a lot of stress. And so Laura, my wife, was like, hey, can you talk to her? Can you kind of basically help alleviate the stress? Well, anyone that knows me, and Chase is probably laughing inside right now, that's kind of like saying, hey, Marshall Henderson, lock down on defense today, bud. Today's your day. Lock down. No, that ain't my role, okay? That's not what I'm good at. That's not my sweet spot. And so we had that conversation, and it was fine. We talked for a long time, to the point where I was running a little late. Carlson had soccer in Tupelo last night. Usually I'm the one going, hey, man, we got to go. And this time he's coming in going, hey, you about ready? And I was like, yeah, we're coming. So I get in the car, and we have a text chain. At this point, it's just a text between me and Laura and Campbell, and it's just boom, 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 boom. And he looks at it, and he goes, sometimes I feel bad about the family text chain because I never text back. He goes, I read it. He goes, it's a lot. And I was like, oh, dude, I get it. Because at one point, Siri says, would you like to respond? And I said, no, hell no, I'm good. And anyway, so it's like 6:30, and we're almost a little more than halfway to Tupelo. And finally, the conversation has died to the point where it's cool. And so I'm searching on Sirius XM, and I'm looking for the Cubs-Padres. Cubs and Padres opened a 3-game series in Chicago last night. And I found the broadcast, and as I found it, they're doing the national anthem, okay? So all you hear is the national anthem, and I'm like, I think that's at Wrigley. And then you hear the little song after the national anthem where they go, this is what you came here for. The Cubs are, You found the Cubs game on the score or whatever. And then right after that, Pat.
That's a thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right after that, Pat did a little jingle for
the open monologue.
The WSCR, the score. And right after that, Pat Hughes, the longtime voice of the Cubs, he's being inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame this summer.
He's phenomenal.
He's great. Pat Hughes opens every broadcast with, let me see if I can remember it exactly now. He goes, Chicago Cubs baseball I can't do it like he does, is on the air. And then he pauses for a minute. You kind of hear some sound. And he says, with former All-Star Ron Coomer, this is Pat Hughes.
He opens it up.
From Wrigley Field in Chicago, where the Chicago Cubs play host to the San Diego Padres. And he gets into, here we go. And for me, in that moment last night, it was like, whew. It was like, yeah. And so it hit me a little bit. And don't get me wrong, I'm not comparing you and me to Pat Hughes. No offense, but we're not getting in any Hall of Fames today.
I don't like our baseball Hall of Fame chances.
But what hit me was, look, the Cubs are better this year. But I'm a realist. I'm a pragmatic person. I think you know that. The Cubs are not a playoff team. They're too flawed to be a playoff team. They're a good team. They're a 500 team. They might even be in the wild card hunt late. But they're not the Dodgers. They're not the Braves. They're not the Mets. They're not the Brewers. Hell, they might not be the Pirates. They're not a contender. But I didn't care last night. And I frankly caught myself as I listened to the game. And I dropped him off, and I went to the track over there at Ballard Park, and I just walked around and stuff. And I caught myself, not really, I mean, they won, but it didn't, had they been behind 2-0, it wouldn't have changed what I was thinking. It was like, hey, it's Pat and Ron, and Zach Zaidman's in the back, and they're just at the ball game, and I'm in there with them, and we're just hanging out, right? You know, they have, when an opposing team walks a Cubs hitter, the opposing team's walks are sponsored by this adult diaper company.
Sure.
And Pat Hughes hates that reader. You can tell that he just hates it.
He cringes.
And Ron makes fun of him, and Zach laughs in the background, and it just makes you feel like you're hanging out with the guys. And what hit me was, well, we've always had Ole Miss baseball to lean on in April and May. They've
been as consistent as anything.
They're in contention. They get to Hoover. We talk about Hoover. We get to have the debate about, does Hoover mean anything?
Host and projections. And
projections. And then, you know, they either win a regional or they don't win a regional. And then the sky falls. And you know, is Mike last year, I mean, let's be honest, we spent 6 weeks talking about would Dan McDonald take the job.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any of that this year. We have a team that does not appear.
Probably destined for Hoover.
It appears that Hoover is a long shot. The NCAA tournament feels like a miracle at this point. And Mike's not getting fired.
No.
He just won a national championship 10 months ago. So what hit me was, well, maybe what we're supposed to do is just kind of be us. Let people hang out with us. It's going to be different, but it's going to be okay. And there was something about that broadcast that just kind of, I'd been a little anxious about it. Like, what in the hell are we going to talk about? You know, because that's what we talk about every late April, every May into June. And I don't think we're going to have that this year. And so it's going to be an adjustment. And then I thought, well, we've adjusted before. And that's what people are here for.
It's a little pandemic. It's also, I mean, because I have a spiel that I tell students all the time when I'm speaking to any group, and it's, hey, Neal, with a podcast, it was always supposed to be this organic thing, and you're hanging out at the sports bar, and here's how it got started. And I basically say the same damn thing every single time because most of them haven't heard it before. And no, there's a lot of truth to that. It's I mean, a lot of you guys on the stream, same people every day. You listen to us. We got the same thousands of people that listen every single day. At some point, if you are staying with us, it is just because we're talking about something. And frankly, some of our better shows have been without a whole list of crap over here to go down, because you can get bogged down in news and in what's going on to where you don't just talk and have some of the better segments and have some of the better conversations. I mean, you know, we had the conversation about life last week and freaking paternity leave and all that stuff. And I got more messages going, hey, that was kind of cool. I prefer that. You know, I got a text yesterday talking about, we mentioned something yesterday that was more life-based. I do think at some point you're here as your morning show. You're here as your sort of setup show for the day. We'll hit whatever's going on with Ole Miss. But if it's not there, typically just talk, and you're okay with that.
Yeah.
There's no real issues there. No, I think there is a lot of that. I think people just show up, and I mean, it's what made the Thursday night show good when we first started. We're just chilling. We talk about spaghetti and meatballs for 45 minutes. People get really mad about it. I mean, it's supposed to be fun. This was supposed to be much worse because we're worse versions of Le Batard when this got started. I mean, I mean, that's kind of what it was supposed to be.
He went off the deep end. We really didn't.
Well, it's what frustrates, or used to. I don't know if it does now or not, but like it used to frustrate a lot of our competitors. Because like, God, how are they doing that? They don't talk. It's like, no, I'm not talking about that. Actually, that's why this works. Is that we're not getting beholden to every single Ole Miss minutia thing out there where we're breaking down the Connerly vote for 3 days. I mean, I just don't.
I mean,
you guys don't want it. I don't want to talk about it. So let's just move on. I mean,
like football season for us is easy. Frankly, football season is easy.
Well, it's formulaic.
Yeah, I mean, Ole Miss is going to play a game. They're either going to win the game, they're going to lose the game. We're going to talk about it. Lane's going to talk to us on Monday. We're going to come back on Tuesday and talk about what Lane talked about. We're going to have betting lines. Other SEC teams are going to play games. We're going to talk about their games. It's walk in park.
Yeah, and everybody likes football. So
everybody likes football. The NFL plays.
Yeah, we're good.
And we're good. I mean, there's just so much. And then football really gets us to February. And then we've typically just kind of leaned on every once in a while some basketball. I think basketball will be a much bigger talking point for us this late winter, early spring. But in the past, it's been a little shaky. But we've gotten a lot out of baseball. I mean, truth is, we should probably send Mike a Christmas card.
And frankly, I almost think I knew this without knowing it to the level that you did. It didn't click. But I think in some ways, we've been preparing for this for a little while because you absolutely knew what was coming and knew that it was going to change. I'll get into that in a second. Let's take a quick break. Tell you about the Ole Miss Athletics Foundation. Ole Miss Athletics Foundation says if you're ready for the Grove, you can join them at Vaught Hemingway Stadium this fall for the 2023 football season. You can order tickets now to participate in the seat selection process. To explore seating options, visit OleMissTix.com or call them at 662-915-7159 today to help lock the vault. Again, that's the Ole Miss ticket office, OleMissTix.com, 662-915-7159.
Walk-On Sports Bistro puts everything they've got into bringing you game day with a taste of Louisiana. Dig into their mouth-watering, made-from-scratch Louisiana cuisine like po' boys, gumbo, voodoo shrimp, juicy burgers, fresh salads, 70-plus TVs, 40-plus ice-cold beers on tap. Check them out in Oxford or Ridgeland today. College Corner is your one-stop Rebel Shop. 2 locations in the Jackson area in Ridgeland. It's next to Fleet Feet and Flowwood. It's next to Half Shell. If you don't live in Jackson, just go to collegecornerstore.com. Plus, you can find them on Facebook and Instagram. Whether you're tailgating in Oxford or home gating with friends and family, the College Corner has you covered for game day with the largest selection of Rebel gear in central Mississippi. And we're brought to you by Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating. Different names, but same great people, same great products and services. If you live in Oxford, Batesville, Tupelo, or the surrounding area, call Comer 662-801-1777. If you live in Hernando, Memphis, that area, call Southern 662-429-4429. Speaking of Nashville, A-Stock is a Nashville-based online retail company with the mission to provide customers the power to name their price. All items start at just $1. That's right. All items start at just $1, no matter what the retail value may be. Shop now at astock.bid. That's ASTOCK.BID, or download their app. Name your price on thousands of items from big-name retailers. A-Stock has multiple locations around Nashville as well as Memphis, Selma, Indiana, and many more coming soon that offer local pickups, so don't miss out. And we're brought to you by Solutions RX. It's a probiotic, multivitamin supplement company created by Ole Miss Pharmacy alum Chris Corneliuson. It's pharmaceutical grade. It's manufactured right here inside the U.S. under the highest standards, based out of Iuka, Mississippi. Whether you take diabetes medication, high blood pressure medications, cholesterol medications, you know that sometimes those can cause some side effects, muscle pain, brain fog, energy loss. But Chris formulated a product called Prescription Support. It puts those vitamins back into your body to help with those side effects, keeps you more compliant in taking your medications. It helps you stay healthier over the long term. Go to solutionsrx.com, enter the promo code OEP, that's OEP, at checkout to get 10% off your first order.
Podcast is brought to you by G&M Pharmacy, 662-236-2222. They deliver locally in the Oxford area, straight to your house. I use it all the time. Don't have to go anywhere. They bring the prescriptions to you. They also will transfer your medications very easily. They do that with one phone call, and they take care of the rest. They hook you up, get you set up with the community pharmacy. You don't have to worry about all the big box pharmacies. Let G&M in Oxford or Tyson Drugs in Holly Springs help you out. Again, that's 662-236-2222. Yeah, I think, I would assume, unless I've missed something, I think the most listened to podcast we've ever done was the one after the Lindsey Miller TMZ day. I'm pretty sure that was number one. That was, I know, because it's always weird to me, Neal will vouch for this. We'll have hundreds of podcasts that get listened to like 20 times over the course of a month. And I'm like, how are people finding that and why? Because it was very time sensitive to that day. But I know even a long time ago, that Lindsey Miller podcast was downloaded like over 90,000 times or something.
Is that right?
Yeah. It was pushing 6 digits. And it was like,
what'd the one after Freeze's firing get?
That was a ton. That was up into the 50, 60, 70 range. Dan Wolken got a bunch.
Yeah.
The Wolken day.
Yeah.
That was a lot. Yeah. The Miller one though was always number one. After TMZ had put the pictures of the bruises and the whole deal up. And then the day after you came back and did the pod on Lindsey Miller Esquire versus Steve Faris in the courtroom that day.
Easily one of my favorite days in journalism. I had no idea that day that was coming. It was a Friday afternoon, hot as hell. That was wild.
Oh, I forgot on the freeze when you could hear the clinking ice on the cup and the glasses in the background. That's right.
Yeah. Or the morning that Ole Miss got hit with the sanctions and
just poured that neat. There was no ice.
You were just getting drunk, and I was like, dude.
We have a press conference and some other stuff here.
Yeah, I was like, we got a long day. And you're.
Well, they put the press release out, and that's that thing where the first version of the press release had the Vitter quote where he's blaming everybody else. And I went, hold on a minute. You said that in the meeting? Like, hand raise. And then like 10 minutes later, they put out another version that had that quote taken out. I went, ooh.
Yeah.
That's not good. That seems like a bad sign. Like
that caused problems, huh?
Yeah. It's possible. But no, what I was saying was, the last couple of months, I don't know that it was necessarily completely because of this, because there's probably several reasons, but I almost kind of found myself going, hey, you need to watch a little more TV. You need to catch up on some pop culture. You need to kind of be a little more aware right now, because I can get in a bubble where I don't do that at all for a while. And I found myself reading a little more and kind of being up on what you guys might want to talk about as time goes on. Because look, let's be honest. It's one of the deals where we don't disagree, but it's so hard because it's weighty topics and it's what's in the news. It's what do you do with news and politics and things? Because I think we have two goals to you guys, and I think sometimes they compete with each other in that way is, hey, tell you what's going on, give you our opinions on what's going on, make sure you're well informed, because there are people out there, and God bless you, we love you, who we're probably the closest thing to news you take in a day, especially from a podcast or an audio standpoint. But then at the same time, I do understand that for a lot of you, and Steven set it up in the stream, that we're an escape where we are supposed to kind of make you laugh and talk and hit other things over the course of the hour and a half. And sometimes it's very hard to find what that medium is supposed to look like over the course of every day. I don't know always, but those are the two goals, but they can absolutely counteract each other. Because I don't want to get on here every day and just depress the shit out of you, but at the same time, you can't completely ignore some things out in the world either. And I don't know. It's, sometimes you guys direct that, telling me what you think.
No, I just, like I said, I listen to Breaking Points. I get my hour and 15 minutes. They mix some politics and news in, and I'm good. I might be the only person on earth that's completely unaffected by both Don Lemon and Tucker Carlson getting canned. I'm like, I'm cool. It doesn't affect me. Not even a little bit. I get it.
Well, my head went to, because I don't watch either one of them. So it wasn't about, oh God, I'm losing my dude tonight. It was more of, so what happened? I went to the media business side of it, and I was hold on. Because somebody was like, oh, Tucker Carlson and Fox, they mutually parted ways. And I went, oh no, hold on. that press release was 2 sentences and did not include a Carlson quote.
Right.
No, there's a couple things here that.
No, they fired him.
Yeah, there are a couple things here that would absolutely indicate that is not true.
I am really interested, just because of business of media. This is not politics. This is not politics. I am really interested, though, from a business of media standpoint, to see where he goes from here, because he has an audience. And in a shrinking field, he has an audience.
Oh, sure.
Where does he take that audience? He hired the same attorney that Megyn Kelly did.
Oh, really?
So you might get an idea as to where he's thinking about headed. But even for a guy like Carlson, who has an audience, whether you love him or hate him or whatever, he has an audience. That is a really crowded space.
It made me wonder if he's the kind of guy that goes independent in some way, or if he gets $1 bazillion from the Daily Wire or somebody, and that's where that thing jumps, was kind of what I wondered.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to guess that he would rather work for himself.
Oh, I do too.
For a while. But beats me. You can, I mean, there are people who are making a mint in this, and Megyn Kelly's one of them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. If he's going to go on the podcast route and the streaming route, he's got to. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Avery, she's asking about Succession. I really, really like it. It is completely dialogue based, however. So if you really liked Mad Men, you'll probably like Succession. But if you're expecting a lot of action or need like pivotal climax stuff that's not just talking, probably not for you. It's a more grown up version of Billions to me. I'm caught up. There's 5 or 6 episodes left in the series at this point. I'd actually love to do a podcast breaking down the series when it's over, but I don't know who. I mean, Neal hasn't watched it. I don't know who to do that with.
I'm going to watch it. It's on my list. I just finished Shrinking season 1.
Yeah.
On Apple Plus.
Yeah.
And so at first it took me a minute to get past it because Harrison Ford is in it, and Harrison Ford is a completely different character. Frankly, Harrison Ford is an older guy.
Oh.
And so it took me a minute to kind of go, yeah, we're old. He's not Indiana Jones anymore.
Yeah.
But it's really, really good.
Yeah.
The writing's incredible, and it's pretty deep, and I liked it a lot.
There are people that say Succession is a bit repetitive. I think the writing is better than that. I think there's some subtext that you have to pick up, and you're watching a slower burn to it. So, because look, you could do that to Mad Men too. Mad Men does kind of do the same thing over and over and over again, but in smart ways. So I think those two are very connected in a way.
Look, we're seeing this, I think, with Ted Lasso. Building seasons on top of seasons in a series is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think season 3 of Ted Lasso is particularly well written so far. Now, maybe they're really setting it up, as I just finished a 6-hour monologue, so who am I to criticize? Maybe they're really setting up some dramatic stuff, and it's just taking a minute. But feels like they need to hit the button a little.
It's one of the reasons why, some of the people don't like Mad Men, and you're going to have the same problem with Succession too, is there's nobody to root for. Everybody has issues. Like, you know what I mean? There's not this obvious protagonist. You're like, oh, I really hope they win today. You're going to find yourself picking a person, but they're pretty damn flawed. I mean, you're picking your issue laden human character in this. So yeah, it's worth the shot though. I think the best entry point is if you like Mad Men, it is worth the chance. It's going to be much more vulgar. It's going to go much slower in a way, but I think that's a decent comparison from just a style of television that you would be looking at that point.
Last thing on and I mentioned this because it's in the thread. I think it was Leif says, does Tucker have an audience with guys like my dad who asked me about taping shows for him on Netflix? What's interesting, and I heard this on Breaking Points as I continue to give them. They should advertise.
They should. They can afford it.
Yeah, they're making coin. But they were saying that Carlson surprisingly has really good numbers in the young demographic. Like really young. 20s, 30s. Which shocked me. Because I would have guessed, he's got a bunch of, middle-aged people who make it appointment television. Because young people don't really have appointment TV. That's not how they grew up. And, he's on it. 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern every night. You know exactly where he's coming in. It's the only reason that Hannity is kind of hung on because people leave their TVs on.
Yeah.
They go have a drink or cook dinner or put the kids to bed and the TV stays on. but supposedly his numbers with young people were
really good,
eye-popping.
Oh, that's
beats
interesting.
me. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
I wasn't a big Carlson guy. I would occasionally watch the opening monologue because it was interesting, but like once he finished that, I'm out.
Okay. I'm gonna get into Deion in a second. What all the crazy stuff he's doing in the portal, which is basically doing what he said he was going to do. I'll get there in a minute.
There's a big story in the Athletic on that today.
Yes, there is. You can check that out. There's nothing to say about last night. Again, Ole Miss pitched it really well. Grayson Saunier was good. Mike got him out of there early because he hasn't thrown much in a while. Mason Nichols was excellent last night. He's not pitching the ninth inning. It's a role he's much better suited for. Frankly, it's one Mike should have known earlier. I mean, it's just the truth here. You have to know your roster better than that. I get you were put in a weird spot. I understand it, but Mason has a very clear identity when he is not in certain roles. Again, MSU scores the winning run last night on a pass ball to reach base, stole second, went to third on a throwing error, and then scored because the ball got lost in the lights in left field. I mean, just a comedy of mistakes there in the sixth that led to that run being scored. Ole Miss only had 4 hits, I think, last night. They were 2 for 13 with runners on, 0 for 6 runners in scoring position. They aren't hitting a lick. While the pitching staff has gotten better. I mean, it's not great, but it's average. Average is good considering the injuries and all the stuff they got going on. You'll take average.
Sure.
And as I said, it's a team that is just beaten down right now. I mean, it's – I thought I had followed some teams and covered them that were really beaten down. There's not a team that's more beaten down that I've ever covered than this one right here. And now, again, their record is much worse than any team I've ever covered. Again, Mike's gone 13-17 at worst, and that was only once.
With 22-21 overall?
Yes. 5-13. Ole Miss as a program has won 30 games in a season every year since 1997. That feels very difficult right now.
How many more midweeks do they have?
3. 24. So, I mean, it's doable, but you better – that would take winning the 3 midweeks and then 9-21. 6-6 the rest of the way. It's doable. Not that it freaking matters.
Yeah, it's doable. It doesn't matter.
I mean, it's a footnote.
You've said this. I'll add this because you've written this and you've said it, and you're exactly right. This is for the fans that want fire and brimstone. I get it. And there's some fire and brimstone that's probably deserved, and I think you've set that up a little bit. But the problem you have journalistically is that for you to really attack what has to be done to prevent a repeat of this, you have to wait until the season's over. You have to wait until not only Ole Miss's season's over, but as in some degree, the regionals are over, the super regionals are over, and then to a smaller extent, maybe even the College World Series is over because they're going, as you've talked about, they're going to have to get very aggressive in the portal. And for a lot of the guys they'll be going after, those guys will be in the postseason. And so they're going to finish their seasons before they, go public about portal stuff or whatnot. So there's
a holding pattern.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot you can write in the next 3 weeks that wouldn't be.
And frankly, you see what kind of cash they got. Which you will find out seeing how active they are in the portal and who they're active after. Are they going after some of the top 15 names in the portal, or are they not?
Who can they close on?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm nowhere near as connected in college baseball circles as you are, but I've talked to some people in SEC circles who, when they tell you the money for some of the top flight guys, it's like, whoa. I mean, we're talking $250,000.
For a payroll to the type that Ole Miss probably needs for the level of transfers they need and the number of them, a couple million minimum.
I was going to say 2 to 3, maybe closer to 3.
It's a guess, but that is my guess.
And so at a place like Ole Miss,
Florida used about 1.5 last year.
At a place like Ole Miss, the question is, can you put together the football NIL that you need, the basketball NIL that you need, and the baseball NIL that you need? If you can, well then, hey, awesome. But if you can't, who loses in that rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah. Banks Tolley is redshirting, by the way. Yeah, somebody asking the thing. No, yeah, you got 3 programs you've got to fund in some way, and there's only so much cash. So we'll see what that.
And hey, here's the thing: Ole Miss is not the only school in that.
No, it's lots
in that boat.
Almost every school.
I mean, just about everybody is in that boat.
I was asked I have no answer to this. I'm just mentioning it, so I'm not ignoring it. I keep getting asked about why State has won so much in the series, and there's no obvious answer. Things are weird in sports. Ole Miss has had the better team several of those years that State has dominated them head-to-head. But State's been really good for the most of this run, too. I mean, you run through State's SEC standings over these years. It's been one of the more, I mean, I'll give them credit. It's been one of the more underrated, impressive things is their ability to do that no matter who the coach is.
Yeah.
They've run through this thing with like 4 different coaches, which you don't see very often. So I don't know. Next week, I'm going to do a little more analysis, probably on the podcast, about, because you guys keep asking, so I'll give you what you're asking for, why Ole Miss as an athletic department is so bad right now, frankly. From a record standpoint. I mean, you look at it now, they're coming off their best year ever last year, so that's why this is so weird. Every program but 2 last year made the NCAA tournament, men's basketball and women's tennis. That was it. This year, I mean, the SEC records are really bad across the board almost. Yeah. It's the fall off is what is so crazy, but everybody keeps trying to blame one thing. It's not one thing. You have to look at each individual sport having stuff happen and seeing where that came out at. I mean,
yeah, I would have a real hard time.
I'm not connecting football to men's tennis as one problem. Like, that's not.
I don't think you could, if you had one of those, the meme that's on the map where he's connecting, the madman's sort of connecting all the strings. I don't know how you could connect some of those strings.
Yeah,
it's a real reach.
Yeah,
I mean, baseball and soccer, for example. Come on,
it's not the same.
How are you making that work? They happen to both play at Ole Miss and wear Ole Miss on their uniforms. But
that's where the commonality stops.
It literally stops right there. Yeah. And that's not enough to go on.
Yeah, and there's no, like, athletic department mood or theme or anything. I mean, no, it's just.
If there is, I don't know of one.
Yeah, no.
And if there is, it hasn't changed from a year ago when everybody was basically having success.
Yeah.
So, no. Sometimes just things don't go your way, right? I mean, sometimes you just. Isn't that what you tell your kids sometimes, is that not everything's going to work out? It's what you hate about participation trophies, is that sometimes you lose. And you got to learn from losing. We've talked, this is repetitive. The key thing that we'll watch in all of these sports is, what did you learn from the failure?
Yeah. Yeah, if you're Keith Carter, when you sit down with Mike, it's not, oh, my God, fire everybody. It's, hey, now what? What'd you learn? What happened?
That's question 1. What did you learn from this?
Yeah. How do we not do it again?
Yeah. What happened, in your opinion? And what did you learn from it?
Okay.
And I'm really more interested in what you learned from it than what happened. Because what happened. You can't change it.
Yeah. Because there's a big difference in, oh, wow, really we got to get more aggressive with NIL and his happened, and, the portal and whatever of, well, we just had a lot of injuries. You go, no. That's not the answer.
We just ran into some bad luck. No. Deeper than that.
Mm-mm. So
that was it's one of the things I always find fascinating about Major League Baseball GMs, NBA GMs at the end of seasons when they do the big exit interview with the media and they talk about what they observed and what they saw and what they learned and what they have to fix moving forward. That's, if you ever want to know, hey, is the team that I'm cheering for on the right track or the wrong track?
How does that go?
Listen to that.
Yeah. Did they make a lot of excuses, or, hey, no, here's the deal?
And I don't mean the one right after the emotional loss.
Yeah, whatever.
All right, screw that. I mean, like, I'm always far more interested in what Lane says on Monday than I am on what Lane says Saturday, 10 minutes after an emotional game where he's still got adrenaline just pumping through his veins and he's still thinking about that one play and he's still bitching with the referee and there's stuff going on.
He's distracted. He's not
locked in on us. We could say, hey, what's the cure to cancer? And he would give me an answer about third down because he's not thinking. Monday, he's had time to think. He slept a little. He's away from it. Some of the emotion, not all of the emotion, but some of the emotion is worn off. And frankly, when you see Lane on Monday and he's still kind of emotional about the past game, I'm like, oh, is it too late for me to run to a bookie? And
you
know what I mean? But you typically can you get a much better feel for where things stand on Monday than you do on Saturday.
Yeah.
And so from Mike, I will be interested in the interviews that he gives 4 or 5 days after the final game, whenever that game is.
Yeah. Podcast brought to you in part by Johnson Hill Creamery, johnsonhillcreamery.com. Small batch artisanal cheese, charcuterie boards, catering, grazing tables, workshops, and more. Got a lot of workshops going on. You can find info about that at Johnson Hill Creamery or on their Instagram page. That's at Johnson Hill Creamery, 662-419-9201. cheese at johnsonvilleCreamery.com. Again, remember they have moved, but you'll shop there online. Get all the details to you as that progresses throughout the year. They get into a permanent space with some exciting things to come. So again, now go to johnsonvilleCreamery.com, order plenty of products. They make their cheeses locally in the house every single day. So again, 662-419-9201.
We're brought to you by Dead Soxy, best socks you'll put on your feet. Go to deadsoxy.com. Don't forget to try the no-show socks as we get into the hot weather. You'll love them. It's deadsoxy.com, promo code Rebel Grove at checkout for 25% off. Game Changer patches are the only 2-patch system available in the market to stop hangovers before they start. The warm-up patch used before or while you drink. The overtime patch used after you've been drinking to recover while you sleep. The all-natural ingredients will keep you in the game, ready for your next play. Go to GameChangerPatch.com, promo code RebelGrove20 at checkout for 20% off your purchase. ACS is owned by my friend Clay McNutt in Baldwin, Mississippi. It's a complete electrical control system solution provider, a Rockwell Automation recognized system integrator. ACS has a full-time dedicated emergency service and troubleshooting staff and a UL508A panel shop. They also have so much more. So if you're in that market, go to acsllcms.com or call 662-601-4381. The fine people at Lammon's Fine Jewelry are retiring this summer. So you got a couple months to go in, express your appreciation for them. If you're like us, I'm going to miss Lammon's a lot. We've done a lot of our business at Lammon's for the past 15 years that we've lived here. It's 1126 North Lamar Boulevard in Oxford. Tell Alan and Nancy that you heard about them on the podcast. You might be able to take advantage of some of their retirement sales, if you will, at LammonsFineJewelry.com or call them at 662-234-2777. And we're brought to you by Pinnacle, based in Jackson, Mississippi. They've got clients in more than 20 states, advisors in multiple states. They provide detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much, much more. It's mypinwealth.com, MYPINN wealth.com. I was talking to John Edwards just yesterday. It's amazing what a resource he is. If you are considering travel, if you're just kind of exploring some travel ideas, get in touch with John. He's part of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. Just give him some parameters. Most importantly, kind of give him a rough budget and let him give you options. And no, you don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of his services. It's 901-494-3387 or send him an email, j.edwards@regencytravel.net.
Podcast is brought to you by Prime Shrimp, primeshrimp.com. 7 different flavors available for you right there on the website. Everything from their New Orleans-style barbecue and their signature, 2 of my favorites, to the garlic herb butter. They've got the Simply Shrimp that you can season yourself. It's great for discerning palates or kids that you have there in your house. Use code RG, buy 5 pouches or more, and you get 25% off. So that's code RG, 25% off with 5 pouches or more. If you're in Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, Rouse's Markets are now carrying them in brick and mortar locations as well. So stop in, try the different options there with Rouse's and Prime Shrimp. And they have their 2-pound bags of individually frozen shrimp, like what's at the grocery store, except for higher quality shrimp from the New Orleans-based company. So again, primeshrimp.com. So let's see. Deion, he walked in his first day, got hired, and he said, hey, just heads up, most of you guys aren't going to be here. He told the truth.
He meant it.
He didn't lie at all. It's been fairly remarkable, though, when you look exactly what has happened. They've had 40-plus players transfer since he arrived, including basically what's become the worst week of it all this week is everybody's jumping out. More than 20, I think, yesterday.
Well, they're not jumping out. He's cutting them.
Well, right. Yes, correct. The season starts in 5 months at this point.
It does.
He's brought in 20-something. So he is – and they have 19 signees. I think they're basically between 40 and 50 newcomers. And the projections are they're going to have to replace 60 to 70 players for next season. So you're still talking about probably 15 to 20 more at some point.
Where are they getting the NIL money?
I'm assuming a lot of them are not huge NIL money because, I mean, they're signing a couple stars, but they're just getting kids too. I'm assuming a lot just are choosing to play for Deion as much as anything else.
It's a fascinating story. Like if you said, hey, what are the 10 storylines for next season? Colorado football is one of them. I don't know if it's number 1, but it's
for comparisons. Obviously, Ole Miss picked up like 16 or 17 a couple years ago in the first year of the portal.
Yeah.
Last year, USC picked up 21 and TCU picked up 16 for comparison, but not this 40, 50 number that we're looking at.
So I didn't know this till today. I should have known it. I kind of scolded myself as I read the story this morning. A first-year coach can process players out as long as they promise to honor the scholarship. In other words, if I tell you you're my starting linebacker, if I call you in and say, "Hey Chase, this isn't working out, we're cutting you," and you elect, "Okay, you know what? I think I'm through with football anyway." As long as I honor your scholarship and it becomes just an academic scholarship, basically, that's fine for first-year coaches in their first year. Most of these guys are getting in the portal to leave, and that takes them off the hook on the scholarship.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's a couple different things. One,
Bucks to win the Pac-3 in 2024. That's good, Sammy.
There's several positions where they simply don't have even enough players on the current roster for competency. So he's going to have to add some dudes no matter what the dudes look like. Here's the problem. Well, it's the good and bad of it, which is why it's a fascinating thing for me. And when I said, can Ole Miss learn a lesson, I was referring to baseball, but it goes for any sport. Frankly, it goes for beard and basketball big time right now. Is if you have a kid on your roster who can't play at the level, he needs to leave. Period.
Yeah.
He's taking up space. He's not going to help you.
Yeah.
Period. That's it. It is a complete cut the fat situation. Nothing against the kid, not naming any individuals, but it is what it is. You do also have to fill out a roster, however. And there's no guarantee that you're getting 85 or 13 or 35, depending on the sport, players who are going to be at the level of your conference competency.
And if you get the reputation for being Jack the Ripper,
you have that reputation.
Does that get to a place where, unless you have
there probably is, but every freaking kid has an ego the size of Jupiter and thinks they're the guy that's going to be beyond that.
It's probably true. Now, their parents sometimes might go,
sure.
Hey, look what he did to so-and-so and so-and-so. Keep an eye on that. You know?
That's a good point, too. NIL dollars have increased, I'm sure, under Deion, and that has nothing to do with how broke the Colorado Athletic Department is. They're not paying for this.
Right. He's got some
commercial. This is boosters in Colorado Springs and Denver and Boulder and everywhere else.
And he's big with Nike.
Mm-hmm. Barstool.
Yeah. So there are people who are financially motivated for him to win. And him winning would be a big story in the sport. Big story.
But it's what's the most intriguing about the portal to me is that balance of opening up enough spots, cutting people who you know are not going to be good enough or competitive enough, while not completely knowing what you're going to get or to what level of depth you can build inside your roster from the portal at the same time, and figuring out how that math accumulates onto itself. It's a really weird deal because you can cut 10 kids and not get 10 kids any better.
Oh, sure.
In a heartbeat. Because you have to make the front decision before you make the back decision.
Depending on how well you've tampered.
Well, sure.
Right.
But even so, if you're down to 2 with a kid, doesn't mean you're getting him. He can go to LSU or Tennessee or Mercer.
I mean, who finished second on Paul Skeens?
Yeah.
Because they ain't getting
not doing much for you. Right now,
it isn't helping you much. That silver medal's not worth much.
Mm-mm. I mean, I covered Keelan Williams and Joe McKnight back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's where baseball, especially, not wanting to tamper, not being used to it, this is a whole different world. And you've got to tamper, you've got to cut kids, you've got to do a complete DNA shift.
That's where I kind of put my money still on Tony Vitello, right?
You don't think he's having the same moral obligation issues?
I mean, I don't.
Today?
I don't.
No, I know.
And some of the old school guys, including Mike, I got to guess this is hard for them. This is not what they're comfortable with. They don't like it.
I think if I'm Mike, I'm literally just calling Clem and laughing and going, I don't really want to know about it, but do what you got to do.
And those are two really nice guys who follow the rules, you know?
But it ain't 1998 anymore.
No, you got to.
We're a long way from that 07 situation when they played Arizona State and Mike was so pissed off at Pat Murphy for basically stealing Kyle Rowling. I mean, that's not the world we're in anymore.
No.
Schools.
And like the big fight between Vitello and Van Horn that got so publicized was about recruiting.
Yeah.
It was about you promised things to kids that were supposed to come here, and then you broke those promises and blah, 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 blah. And I think 2 years later, Vitello would go, see? Told you. It's where we were headed.
Yeah, you're doing it too, bud.
And Van Horn would probably look at him and go, 2 years ago, I would have told you we weren't doing it. And now, we probably are.
They are.
Sure.
Everybody is.
You have to. I mean, to your point, 2 years ago, well, hell, last year, this is how quickly this has changed. I won't use names and examples. But last year, a high-profile player was being tampered with. And we were like, I can't believe that. That's really kind of nasty. And literally 10 months, 11 months later, you go, you have to do it. You no longer think
and see, that's
you
no
longer
point.
Even think of it as that nasty. Am I right?
Yeah, and you just said that about very high-level player.
Yeah.
Prominent programs.
Yeah.
That's the kind of kids you need, and that's the level of tampering you have to do. It's not even, hey, I need to make sure I'm the person who gets in on that South Alabama outfielder. No. I got to go take your dude.
Yeah. Same league. I got to go take your dude. And here's the thing is I'm fascinated by this, right?
Yeah.
Because to get that dude was going to be $250,000.
Yeah.
So how many $250,000 guys can you go get? And what happens when the $250,000 goes up to 400? Because what if just play and we cannot mention names because it would just light the world on fire. In this, and
especially in
and I'm not going there. But what if the player had been more receptive and all of a sudden went, well, you know what? Let's see what happens here. And had picked up the phone and called School 3. Hey, School 2 just offered me $250,000. Can you top it? Because I can think of a School 3 that would have said yes.
Oh, yeah.
Right now. We might even double it.
We have a bat company that'll help with this. Sure.
So then what?
Sounds good.
And so that's where I wonder where, kind of how it all goes. And it's the lay of the land. I mean, it's why
because even the kid who doesn't want to leave right now is still going to the coach and going, hey, so-and-so's hollering at me. Can I get a little bump? Like you're still having to add on to the teal, if you will.
And now the days of the coach picking up the phone and calling the other coach and going, hey, what the hell are you doing?
Nah.
I'm just doing business.
Yeah.
Jim. This is just
I said this a couple weeks ago. I mean, I was talking to somebody in another league, and they said they were talking about they were calling a Sunbelt outfielder, and he was saying, hey, you call, and he said you always worry about he's buddies with the head coach there, and he's going, God, this sucks. But the kid is going somewhere, so either comes to you or he goes to Tennessee or LSU or Ole Miss. It is what it is. And he goes,
he's either going to help you win or he's going to beat you.
You get that kid on the phone, and you go, hey, who have you talked to? And then he runs off like 7 assistants in your league, and you're like, oh shit, okay.
It's like this. It's like you see these tweets, right, in basketball especially. So-and-so got into the portal. He's heard from, and the list is like 27 schools.
Yeah.
And you're like, you do know that he didn't get those 27 calls in the 10 seconds after he went into the portal. Those schools have been in contact with him because they'd heard he was going to probably go into the portal.
And it's why as tampering moves on, you're going to have more kids do that do not contact thing on their thing because they already know what they're going. So don't call me needing to, it doesn't matter.
The Louisville basketball player.
Has she made a decision?
I think it's LSU.
Is it?
But I haven't heard if it's, I don't know. That's not bad.
Yeah, Haley Van Lith of Louisville ran into the portal, and she put a do not contact tag on her where nobody could recruit her.
Which tells you that she was down to 1 or 2 already.
Because they tampered.
And I'm cool with it. It just kind of is what it is right now. And so the point is that so many coaches, especially in baseball, have lived in that gentleman's agreement for so long. You got to let that go. I mean,
it's where I'm kind of happy because I'll be honest, the gentleman's agreement thing was frustrating me because they still were tampering. They were just doing it through summer coaches. And you'd call the summer coach at Canes or Scorpions or Sun Devils or whomever and go, hey, we really like that kid at Florida. You coached him. If he were ever looking to leave, we'd be really interested there. We'd probably have something if he ever cared. Just heads up.
Right.
Well, let's cut the bull crap.
Right.
Just call the kid. Like,
that's the loosest form of plausible deniability.
You do that, and then you're like, well, we don't tamper. We have a. It's like, oh,
Stop.
Shut up.
No, I kind of respect the ones that go, hey, this is just where we are today.
And it is.
And there's a couple of coaches that privately have told people, I don't like this, but we have to.
Yeah, everybody else is.
Because the damnedest thing, when we don't win on Sunday and we lost 2 out of 3 or we got swept, the fans are bitching. You lose enough, you get fired. The rope is a lot shorter than it used to be. So we got to do it. And frankly, I mean, if I'm Keith and I sit down with Mike when this is over and if we're going to tamper a lot more, isn't basically said, I'm a little concerned. Because literally, 10 months ago is different than what it was now. Now you hear that story today, you go, oh, yeah, I get it. Sure. Why not?
One of the athletic writers talking about Colorado says that he would be shocked if a really good season for them would be 5 wins next year. Is where he has Colorado sort of with a ceiling. And if you look at the schedule, frankly, it's hard to find 5 wins.
That'll be humbling.
Not used to that.
The quote that I thought was the most interesting in the story was the player who said, if you're looking for Deion, find where the camera is.
It's not wrong.
Well, typically the coaches who are super successful, find out later that, boy, they're in the trenches. They're getting stuff done. Nick Saban's not looking for the camera.
It's Deion's strategy.
It is.
Be as public as possible and hope that brings kids in.
Marketing.
Yeah.
But I don't think marketing alone gets it done, right? I mean, Lane Kiffin's a master marketer, an absolute social media genius. And it still comes down to NIL.
Yeah. And Deion hasn't gone 3-9 yet.
Yeah. He could.
Again, not on paper.
They went 1-11. A 3-game jump is 4-8.
Yeah.
Teams don't typically jump more than 3 games.
We've never seen a roster overhaul like this.
No.
And they get the kid and Travis Hunter, and there's some dudes.
Sure.
But it'll be a lot of dudes. You play in the watered down pack.
Yeah, it's pretty watered down.
Yeah. So hit some other news and notes in a second. I'll tell you about Northeast Spark, NESPARC, service people across rural communities. 2 packages, the Ignite, the 100 Mbps, or the Blaze, the 1 gig that powers the Clark Ford studio. Your hometown team bringing you world-class broadband. That's NESpark.com. 662-238-3159. Phone service, parental controls, network security, and much more. So to get the best internet in Lafayette County, also parts of Union and Pontotoc counties. Again, that's 662-238-3159.
If you're headed to Oxford this weekend for a double-decker or for the Georgia series or whatever, stop by Opa. It's Oxford's newest Greek restaurant on the square. Fabulous food, great craft libations as well. It's right there on the square in Oxford. Opa. Whitney McNutt of Tommy Morgan Incorporated Realtors sponsors my mailbag, which will be up a little bit later today. Serving you for all your real estate needs in Oxford and Tupelo. She sells condos, land, commercial, and residential family homes. You can reach her at 662-567-2573 or 662-842-3844. We're brought to you by Service Specialist Staffing and Recruiting Agency, connecting great job opportunities to candidates since 1967. If you're on the job hunt, they can help you. It's always free to the candidate. If your company is looking to hire quality, hard-to-find talent, Service Specialists can help you as well. Keep in mind that payment of service is solely contingent on if you decide to hire a candidate that they send. You've got nothing to lose, so give Will, Sydney, or Kelsey a call at 662-832-5138 or check out their website, servicespecialistltd.com. Get the beautiful and healthy smile you deserve at Corinth Dental. Dr. Bubba McQueen, Dr. Jenny Beth Hendrick are devoted to restoring and enhancing the natural beauty of your smile using conservative, state-of-the-art procedures that will result in a beautiful, long-lasting smile. From routine checkups to advanced treatment, including implants and Invisalign, Corinth Dental is here to help you achieve your smile goals. So schedule your appointment today. Take the first step towards a better version of yourself. It's corinthdental.com. And we're brought to you by Southern Traditions Farm. It's a 68-acre, 32-stall upscale equestrian training and boarding facility in Canton, Mississippi. 2 sand rings, a grass ring, miles of wooded trails. There's so much offered at Southern Traditions. Horseback riding offerings from beginner lessons to very advanced, nationally recognized competitions. Also a great venue for events and that kind of thing. So get in touch with them on Facebook or Instagram at Southern Traditions Farm.
Big schedule night tonight in the NBA. Last night you had the Phoenix Suns and the Denver Nuggets advancing to the next round. The Suns dispatching of the Clippers, and the Nuggets getting rid of the Timberwolves.
It was a great game. The second game was great. Denver, Minnesota was a terrific basketball game.
And then Celtics blowing Game 5 at home in Boston last night. Trae Young hits a three with about a second and a half, 2 seconds left, something like that.
Start playing with fire.
You're probably okay, but
start playing with fire. Got to go to Atlanta for Game 6. If you don't win it, suddenly there's this.
You're giving the Sixers more time off with Embiid.
Oh, for sure.
There's some stuff there.
Talking
about one opening up. Celtics going to a 6. Bucks facing elimination.
Is Miami, Milwaukee tonight too?
Yeah. Oh, no, it's a loaded night tonight. You've got
good night.
Yeah, tonight you've got Knicks, Cavs with the Knicks having the ability to win the series tonight. You have Lakers, Grizzlies with the Lakers having the chance to win tonight. You have
great story. Not to interrupt. I'm sorry. Yeah, great story in the Athletic today. If you're a Grizzlies fan, about Taylor Jenkins, the Grizzlies coach, talking about the need for maturity.
Oh, really?
Really, and he basically says this is not going to happen overnight, but we have to learn from this. That leads with Ja Morant and Dylan Brooks skipping out on media.
Yeah.
And the way that they did it. It has quotes from Steven Adams, Jaren Jackson Jr., very loosely LeBron James. Jenkins makes the point, and if you watch much NBA, you know this. The regular season and the postseason are two different seasons, obviously. But it's not even the same game. In the regular season, because it's an 82-game schedule and it's so compressed and you have travel and you have back-to-backs and you have workload stuff, you can win games or lose games that are schedule losses or schedule wins in the NBA.
Yeah, sure.
In the postseason, not so much. You don't play back-to-back in the postseason. There's always a day. You're scheming a series. I heard Sam Presti say this, that a series is a completely different animal than a one-off. And you've got these series that are being played, and Jenkins basically calls out Dylan Brooks for calling out LeBron James.
No.
That you have to be disciplined. And they use an example. They go to LeBron with a quote from Jaren Jackson Jr. that was very complimentary of the Lakers and stuff. And LeBron just didn't kind of grunted, nodded his head, and then just started, we're just going to take it one game at a time, and good Lord willing, things will work out. You know, just cliches. And you got to learn from.
He didn't bite.
No. And history shows that when LeBron's not particularly motivated by external things, his team gets a little infighty. But when he's motivated by external things, when you go light him, he's a dog. And look, Memphis has lost this series so far off the floor as much as they have lost it on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
It's on them. You talk about learning from the end of this season. If this series doesn't reverse and the Lakers win it, the question with the Grizzlies will be, what do you learn from this? Because you run at it, the window's wide open until it's not.
Yeah, Game 5 tonight back in Memphis. Lakers Grizz tonight. Again, Knicks Cavs, that's in Cleveland for a Game 5 with New York having the ability to close it out.
Interesting series.
Tonight.
Big night for Donovan Mitchell.
Huge night for Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, big night.
In Cleveland. The Heat, again, they are in Milwaukee for Game 5 tonight.
Free shot for the Heat tonight.
Oh, yeah. You're just getting back to Game 6 and see what happens when you get the home court again.
They get Friday night, Game 6.
And then your nightcap tonight, Warriors-Kings, 2-2. Back in Sacramento
Aaron
tonight.
Fox with the broken finger.
Playing.
Yeah. That environment it'll be nervous tonight. It's going to be different than it was for Game 1 and 2.
It's not celebratory tonight.
It's a little nervous tonight. Everybody's a little puckered.
And then the NHL playoffs have been fantastic. I get no one's watching it, but it's really, really good. They've got 3 series at 3-2. after the Islanders, the Stars, and the Oilers all won last night. Oilers really interesting. They pick up that win, go up 3-2 in their series last night. In that one, it pays to be a high school training academy. IMG sells $1.25 billion.
$1.25 billion.
They were owned by Endeavor that owned the UFC. They're who sold it. So they've had a busy month as a company. It's a business model. You know, Nick Bollettieri, the tennis instructors who started IMG Academy, and then he turned it into multi-sports. They included Leadbetter Golf, and then got basketball and baseball and football going, and soccer. And, you know, at one time it was the Pendleton School, and they changed that to IMG Academy for the academic side of it. I mean, it is a hell of a machine that they run down there. I mean, I've done some research on it over the years for baseball players who have signed with Ole Miss. Casey Mulholland, Greer Holston spent a year there. And it's fairly phenomenal what they have put together, and now selling for $1.25 billion. It's almost military like in its instruction, from an academics to an athletics to, like, they had meetings with sports psychologists multiple times a week. You've got all this different stuff. You've got, I mean, it's everything. Look, now, is it overboard? Maybe. I mean, you can make some arguments that it's just too much.
Yeah. But
the plan in place is pretty fascinating from a logistical standpoint with what IMG is and is not. So $1.25 billion for their entire complex that is just a huge campus now.
I never understand the people who don't have scholarships who send their kids there. I mean, you're basically telling your kid, I guess, you're going to go get a college scholarship here, that you're a future pro.
Yeah, I don't remember if he had Casey was from Bradenton, so I don't think he even stayed on campus. I think he lived at home and then just drove in for his stuff every day. But yeah, it's 40, 45 grand, I think, is tuition a year. Something.
I read a bigger number than that.
Is it bigger than that?
I thought I read 68 or something.
Maybe it's going up. I mean, that was
several years ago. It might even be more than that. I don't know.
Okay. I think Andre Agassi went there back in the day. I want to say I remember reading that from his biography, is that he was at IMG.
I think that's right. Had you gone there instead of Hatley, you'd be in
the
bigs right now.
I know.
You'd be twirling a curveball.
Probably fix my arm a little better.
Rich Hill pitching for the Pirates.
Rich Hill's interesting. He just keep on keeping on.
In fact, if you told me I could interview 10 Major League Baseball players, Rich Hill would be on my list.
Oh, really?
To talk about his career. He's just been going for, 20 years now, basically?
Yeah.
I mean, just nothing unpredictable about what he's going to do. You're going to get the curveball. Curveball. Mix in a fastball. Maybe a change. Curveball.
Did you see where the Tottenham players are refunding visiting fans who had to witness their loss to Newcastle United over the weekend?
I did not.
Did you not? So they have pledged.
I tried to kind of. I do the Tottenham thing, and the truth is, I'm not.
You're a little checked out.
I don't have the emotional capacity, truly, but my son always points out.
He needs you to have a team, so you have a team.
He always, hey, y'all lost again. And I'm like, oh yeah, who we play?
Yeah. The Hotspurs players have pledged to refund the price of match tickets for fans who traveled away for their humiliating defeat at Newcastle on Sunday. They were stoned with 5 goals in the opening 21 minutes and would go on to a 6-1 loss in their race for Champions League qualifications. Their acting head coach got fired on Monday as well. They're in 5th in the EPL. It's not like they're bad at all.
Yeah.
I can't decide, and this is a conversation for later. I'm not spending the rest of the show on it, but I can't decide if English or European soccer considers coaches more valuable or less valuable than we do in American sports, because they get rid of them much easier and quicker. But you could argue that means they're more valuable because they're like, no, we can't keep a guy who is not getting it done.
It's super high profile.
Yeah.
And then they become quite expendable.
Yeah, it's like, but literally they lose 2 matches and they're just out.
One of the things that you realize when you watch much English Premier League, if you watch like the pregame shows and stuff, is that it's very NBA-ish in that it's drama-based. Lots of drama about the players and who might basically get into the transfer portal. Is this the year that Harry Kane leaves Tottenham to go to Bayern Munich? It's that kind of stuff. Is he leaving for Real Madrid or whatever? Or is, it's there's a lot of that player soap opera stuff that drives the sport. And because it's the sport and you can see the players, that's what drives it in many ways.
Crap here is this PR shield stuff and quotes that are just canned and scared to say anything or admit failure. And we got to move forward and whatever. I give them some PR credit yet though to this because they have it. Look, the player is really paying for it. Probably not, but it comes from the players. They admit the fault in this to some extent and then give a quote that from a PR standpoint probably did resonate with some of their fans. As a squad, we understand your frustration, your anger. It wasn't good enough. We know words aren't enough in situations like this, but believe us, a defeat like this hurts. We appreciate your support home and away. With this in mind, we'd like to reimburse fans with the cost of their match tickets from St. James Park. We know this does not change what happened on Sunday, and we will give everything to put things right against Man U on Thursday evening. When, again, your support will mean everything to us. Together and only together we can move forward. Okay.
Oh, it's good.
That's really well done.
Well done.
You do not see that in American sports.
No.
Admitting that level of fault. Like, we have this stupid cloud over us. Like, no. It's like the stupid coach thing. We got our first choice when we know you got turned down 8 times. There's no harm in going for the moon and getting told no.
Yeah.
I'd much rather that than what you're saying be true. And I go, hold on a minute. That's the first guy you ask?
Right.
I've got a bigger problem now.
You didn't try to get so-and-so?
Yeah, hold on a minute. Dude.
You didn't even talk to him?
Yeah, I'm much better at that than the guy who goes, hey, I busted my ass, and they said no. Oh, okay. I mean, I can't make them take the job.
Yeah. We like where we are, though.
We ran a national search, and our third base coach was the best candidate. No, hold on.
No, come on. Stop. You got turned down a bunch.
Yeah. Maybe it works out. But
I'm with you. But transparency.
It's so stupid.
Transparency. I would love to hear the coach when they're, and I'll give Lane credit. Lane kind of does this, and I think it's why we go, yeah, you know what? Okay. When people say, why didn't you have a better team? We didn't have enough money. Now, that doesn't explain away the
No.
some of the losses or whatever happens. But ultimately, if the answer is we didn't have enough money, they're digging stuff up.
I feel like we're doing instant analysis back on the field again with the lawnmower right next to us as we close up here.
Yeah. I got the text warned that they were coming.
Oh, did you? It's a good time to stop. We can't really hear ourselves think at this point with some construction going on outside. Podcast again with you in the morning. I assume Jeffrey will join us. So we'll talk to him. Big night in the NBA. Anything else going on from an Ole Miss standpoint as the day moves on and into Thursday. So I hope all of you have a wonderful day.